Looks like the recording's already started, so I think we're good to go. Well, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Really appreciate you joining this webinar entitled Improve Work in Project Management with 3 Microsoft tools you may already have. Here's our copyright notice, and then we're going to get right to a little bit of housekeeping. This is a webinar. This webinar is being recorded, video and audio. We have everybody on mute. If you want to participate, we encourage active participation. So there's actually a chat there, a question pane where you can enter. Feel free to enter a question at any time. I'll try to get to it during the presentation. Worst case, we'll get to it at the end or do a follow-up. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So please submit your questions and comments by the pane. We're also going to be doing a couple of polls to get your input on this. It's going to be a little bit interactive. So look for those polls to pop up, and then it's just a radio button you'll hit and get your input there. So to start with, we're going to start right off the bat. Everybody paying attention. So what is your top work management challenge? So I'm going to put these up on the screen and talk about them for a second, then I'm going to launch the poll so you can actually enter it. So is it the ability to visualize work with other team members that you're working with, or is it organizing tasks and their relationship with each other? Maybe it's resource planning. Maybe it's something around reporting or business intelligence, or maybe it's something else. So with that, let me go over here and launch this poll, and the poll should be showing up now. So I'd appreciate it if you take a look there and just click one of those radio buttons. This is a one-click, one vote for one of the answers. So looks like we got some people putting some answers in there. All right, don't be shy, click the button. All right. Very cool, starting to see, looks like most people have done it. I'll give you guys about another 10-15 seconds. Anybody else has a vote to do? 82% have voted, so 18% of you haven't voted yet. You know who you are. Click the button. All right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now. Interesting results. So what we're seeing here is that, let me take a look. So 33, oops, wrong. My pen didn't work. Here we go. Pen. All right. 33% here. 33% here. Task in relation to each other. Resource planning is 22%. Really interesting, 0% for reporting. And then something else was 11%, which makes up the difference here. So thanks for participating in that. There's going to be another poll. And again, like I said, if there's any questions along the way, feel free to do so. So without any further ado, some introductions. That's Mike Taylor. That's me, the talking head on the far left there. I have joining me our Director of Sales, Brian Quick, and Joshua Worth, one of our Senior PPM Solution Specialists. You gentlemen want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar. I'm Brian Quick, Director of Sales for Innovative E. And I'd like to introduce Josh Worth.
Hi everybody. I'm PPM Solution Specialist, so I'm the Project and Portfolio Management Expert.
Thank you guys. All right, so let's go into just about everybody also participated when you signed up in the poll that we had on the registration form. So we selected a few of the responses that came out of there that when you guys signed up and said, what would you like to get from today? So new tools, old tools, best uses. So we're definitely going to cover some tools that are out there. Some of them are new, some of them are old. So that's definitely something we're going to cover. Information on PM tools and integration of Planner, we'll cover that. Josh will actually be doing a demo and can talk about integration. Added insights using 365 tools for better project management. So we're actually going to cover 3 tools today. We're going to actually demo 2. We were hoping to be able to do 3, but when we ran out the timeline, it looked like we'd only be able to do 2. So we're really going to focus the demos on Planner and Project for the Web. One's an older tool, one's a newer tool. Project for Microsoft Project Online is there. We'll talk about it for a minute, but we're not really going to do too much demo on that. So What else was asked? Better understand capabilities of Microsoft 365, formerly known, just renounced, rebranded from Office 365. Pretty subtle differences. We're going to show you kind of a high-level overview of the whole product suite, and then we're going to really focus on the tools I've just mentioned a minute ago. So know more about Project Cloud. We'll talk about that a little bit. Management skills for working remotely. We're going to talk about that. We did a webinar last week, really focused on work from home. So we'll give you the resources that we produced out of that, which included the webinar recording, the deck, and some work at home assets, quick reference guides. And then practical ways to help manage your remote workforce. Well, a lot of us are working remotely these days. Many had not done it before. I had only done it maybe a day or two a week or a month, and almost everyone is in a situation now that they're working at home and maybe doing some homeschooling and some other activities while at home. So this is part of the reason for doing this whole series is to help give you guys some practical ways and tools. So hopefully you'll get that out of it. So with that, so the question about the Microsoft O365 or M365 platform, this is actually a couple of years old, but it pretty well plays today. This is from Matt Wade. He's an MVP, a Microsoft MVP. So he put this thing together a few years ago, and we love it. We use it all the time. So you can see us. If you're interested, there's a website at the bottom. You can go get the latest on that. They have an interactive version, but this really shows most of the products that are in the M365 platform. And so what we're really going to focus on today, as we said, are those that are kind of in that. You see this project management swim lane here. We're going to talk about. And really that term is being broadened out. So it's project and work management. So we're really going to be talking about the planner project for the web, which we had to kind of pencil in over here because it's brand new. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Project Online or Microsoft Project Online. So what is kind of the modern work management scenario? This is a slide we've been using quite a bit for the past 4 or 5 months to kind of talk about what people are trying to do. So, and then how does that map back to the products? So we'll go through this. It's kind of an eye chart, but then we'll talk about it in more simple terms in a minute. So what is it you're looking to do? So improve your team productivity. We saw some answers for that. Visibility into work and projects. That is something that is definitely, in forefront of folks' minds. Who's doing what, flexibility, the ability to move projects around, and this is getting more complex or more mature as you go kind of from the left to the right, right? So when you're working with a small work group and you're just doing some team or task type things, that's one thing. But when you get into all the way to the far right side there, you're looking about doing things like aligning strategy and measuring benefits and compliance. That's a much more robust type of solution. So that's why we've got kind of those arrows going left to right. So what are the tools that map over there? So from that periodic table, we've pulled a few of them out. So you've got Project Planner, you see them right here that are kind of on this far left side. But this is Project for the Web, and then you've got Teams. You've got a lot of do-it-yourself apps that are out there now that Microsoft has been promoting. They've been out for a couple of years. They're on the Power Platform. You've got third-party apps. There's a lot of those, as Office 365 is probably the largest productivity platform on the planet. Then you've got a lot of complex apps and integration development driven type of things and complex apps, and you see Project Online, this icon is over here kind of on its own. It's available and can do more complex project management, portfolio management type solutions. So with that, for the 3 tools we're really going to talk about today, we're going to talk about a little bit about what to use for what purpose. So Planner is really good for small teams, things and tasks that are being worked by small teams, things that need to be easily visualized, and you can work in a very visual manner there. So that's it can be used for standalone things. We actually use it in conjunction even with more complex project management. So these aren't necessarily independent tools. We use Planner with Project sometimes, to manage small tasks that are items that might not be something would deem being on a larger project plan. But so that's kind of what Planner is about. Then you've got Project for the Web, which really now, if you have those tasks and you need to start doing things like linking those tasks, like one thing has to be done after another finishes, if you need to add some duration to it, or if you need to actually add some effort to it and say how many hours are going to be against it or what percentage complete and those kind of things, Project for the Web is a great tool for that. And then Project Online is at that far right of the most sophisticated. It can do the high-end portfolio management, the resource planning, resource forecasting, and what ifs, very detailed task and time tracking, time sheeting, and then business intelligence with tools like Microsoft Power BI. So are you licensed? So this is the part where we put in the title, there's things you might already have. So chances are, if you don't already know that you have it, you have Planner. Almost everyone does. It comes with almost all Office 365 and M365 subscriptions. There's a few exceptions for the old business server type scenarios, but if you don't see it, Josh is actually going to cover in his demo how you might look to find it, or who the right person in your organization to ask. So you probably have Planner. Planner is also one of the most used products within the Office 365 M365 suite. It's one of the most, other than the email type basic functionalities in Word and Excel, Planners for productivity purposes has the highest usage within that stack. So it's a very useful tool. Project for the web, you may have that if you already have some project, so Microsoft Project Online. So with the P3 and P5 subscriptions, if you have those, then you also automatically get the project for the web, and it'll just show up, and we can tell you a little bit more about that. You can also purchase it separately on a plan that Microsoft came out with called a P1 subscription, and it's just a few dollars per user per month. And then Project Online, you may have it, but it is actually, it's a separate SKU, it's a separate add-on item, and there's 3 subscription plans. And if your organization owns it, you can have a license assigned to you if they already own it and it's available. If not, then you can actually have it purchased and put it into your 365 tenant. And again, there's the Essentials, which is for team members, and these are really role-based type subscriptions for this. So you have your basic users who need to collaborate on your site. That's kind of the Essentials. The P3 is more kind of for your project managers, the folks who will be managing the schedules, and then your P5 would be for your like your resource managers and possibly executives. So those are the 3 different pricing levels there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague Josh here to get started with the Planner demo. So Josh, if you want to
Working on
control away. There you go.
All right. So first and foremost is Planner. How do we get there? Starting from the Office 365 main page itself, Planner is usually a tile that's available here. Otherwise, the easiest way to access Planner is to go ahead and hit your waffle menu once you're in Office 365, and you'll either see another shortcut just like this that'll have Planner on there, or you can even go to your All Apps if it doesn't show up there, and select from the list of all apps that are available to you from this point. If it does not exist in there, you might have one of those few SKUs, like Mike was saying, that does not have access to Planner, but it's readily available for, I'd say, 90% or more Office 365 subscriptions. Now, accessing Planner, you'll kind of see a lot of times I like to refer to it as the grow up from the old to-do wonder list styles. Edging yourself into the more robust project management aspects, getting your way to the further grow up plan as you develop and expand out on your project management capabilities. We'll start with the easiest thing. We're going to create a new plan. And once we do that, you can either add it to an existing Office 365 group if you're familiar and have that assigned, or you can create one with it as well. For this one, I'm just going to say we're going to keep this as a low weight one where we want to do Josh's to-do list. So this is the instance where, let's say you don't necessarily have the project management office created up and a whole bunch of projects assigned to you, but you want to have a little bit more of that robust aspect of things for you to be able to take a look at your work stream and what you're working on and be able to manage it yourself. So from that standpoint, we have effectively this to-do. And I can go ahead and say, okay, I got my buckets. I got to do, and we can create a new bucket and say, I want tasks for later. We could say next month. And then we can just easily create another one that says maybe later. From this point, we can then create tasks. Say, oh, well, I'm looking to, let's see, I got to finish my certifications. That's always a popular one. And you can see that it's easy to just go ahead and add a task, at least to this respect, without having to fill out a lot of information to it. But you can delve into this, and it has a lot more capabilities for you to go ahead and actually fill out more information pertaining to it. You can create sub checklists to the items. Say, well, in order for me to finish my certification, I have so many steps for it to do. I have to, study for a particular exam. Set up your testing time, and then actually, print it out and be proud of your accomplishments. So this gives you the capabilities of taking a relatively simple task and having it show up either on the card so that you have multiple steps showing up, and you can check them off as you go and kind of have your to-do list in a very simplistic manner. We can also go ahead and set your start dates and what you expect, and then a due date saying, oh, I need to make sure I get this done by May 6th. And you can set a priority, and you can say whether it's in progress or completed here, or utilize your buckets that you have no matter what. If you so desire, let's say this is a little bit more of a team assignment instead of Josh's to do. We can say, it's the project management office team to-dos, and you can assign multiple people on here. So if you so desire, you could add other individuals to your particular project, which I can show you here. It's just as simple as going up here and adding new members. In this instance, I can go ahead and add Mike, and he'll get added to this particular thing as well. And I can say, oh, well, I need to finish my certifications, but I also want to add Mike to it as well, so he can see. And they do have these nice little color coded things, but we can also change those. Those are just default color codes that you can apply to items. Now, this allows also for the attachment of any files that are necessary, any comments that you might have you want to send back and forth. So I could go ahead and say, I have study material if you need it. And then once I send that, it actually makes it as a nice little note within kind of a work stream of this particular task. And if Mike so desired, he could go in there and be able to see the progress that's done on a particular task within here as you create it. Now, once you have these completed, you can always go ahead and do a checkbox for the items that you have done like we've done so far. Or if something has popped up and I got to do some sort of mitigation, I can easily just move this into another bucket as well to associate it with that metadata. So from this point, we can take a look at things if we want to create a bunch of examples. Everyone loves taxes, backlog is always a popular one. We can go and do that and say, well, taxes, that can be done maybe later. Hopefully not too much, but you can go ahead and review that information and be able to see a breakdown in the chart as well as to kind of have this reporting capabilities on the items that you enter into your existing plan to be able to see how things break down from not started, in progress, late, and so on and so forth. The great usage of this ends up being when you do kind of jump from that initial to-do list item for when you're creating a plan to say more of a robust project before heading into maybe the realm of project for the web where you want to start working on dependencies and items like that. Say you want to do more like an agile type of development work stream. This is an example of one of them. So I've already kind of pre-created this where I have an example app development plan that I have set up here. I got my different buckets that I created where I have planning, analysis, design, implementation, and testing. Those are kind of like my hammock tasks that I want to have these particular items within there. And these are my high level items that need to get done for each portion. You can see I'm able to capture a lot of metadata associated with it. I can go ahead and be able to look at all the important items on there, whether it's in progress, due dates, any notes, kind of the step up from where we were. And you can see I even have a couple of these listed as pending sign off or verified, so you can label those particular color labels to be able to see things at a glance that give you a little bit more of that detail that you might be striving to see in more of a group-related task activity, such as like an app development process, dev cycle, any sort of review that you would consider using with an agile type of aspect to it. You can also go ahead and take a look at things. If we take a look at the charts here, this gives a little bit more information because now we have several more users in this example where we can then see the status of all the tasks and the breakdown of the priorities that we have set, as well as the tasks that are assigned to the different users that are part of this group associated with the planner plan. And thirdly, we can go ahead and take a look at the schedule and see how this visually breaks down for estimated dates for the tasks that we created within this planner plan itself, and be able to kind of see how this goes through and what our calendar workflow looks like for this this example execution, and be able to see those items on the side panel as well. Thirdly, so after this point, you can always go ahead and take a look and change how items are grouped, so you can easily move stuff around. So the first instance is we're taking a look at items bucket by bucket. We can also go ahead and take a look assigned to and see, oh, well, I have 2 tasks here that I forgot to actually assign to somebody. Rather than hunting down those tasks and modifying them from that standpoint, I can just as easily take these and drag them and drop them and be like, well, Brian, he can work on this testing item, and I'll take care of this last one here for the developing the integration testing plans. So now I can use this as a quick review of making sure that I have all my tasks assigned out to people who are going to be working on it, and then go ahead and see the breakdown. Oh, I want to see what's in progress currently. So we're just starting on this particular one. A couple of them are in progress, nothing's completed yet, but say you want to easily go ahead and update that. The user who's in here just needs to go ahead and do this. Oh, I'm ahead of the game. I've already developed the integration test plans before everything else is done, because I've done this before in the past, so I can just reuse that material. So, and just like that, I'm able to go ahead and move it over to the bucket where it is completed instead of in progress or not started, to be able to rapidly modify my plan without too much hassle. You can also view by your due dates, and ones that actually have it on there. If there's no date, it'll actually say. So it's another one of those quick reviews. You can see if you've entered in that information. You can see your breakdowns by labels, which is always useful if you have the different things, if you have like pending sign-offs or verifications of tasks as you're working on it. And then, of course, by priority. So if you need to easily move things to become more urgent tasks versus just your average medium level task situation. Planner itself does have capabilities to integrate with other items within Microsoft within the Microsoft sphere of Office 365 as well. One of the primary ones is the ability. This is actually easily integrated with the Microsoft Teams application. You can add this as a tab to any existing team to be able to see your plans from Planner within there. And there are other ways to actually get this to integrate with existing items and be able to report on it as such as well. But we do not have time to go through all of those, unfortunately. But this should give you a good idea for how Planner can be easily set up and utilized, going from a simplistic idea of just a to-do list to more of an advanced app development sort of aspect. And that, I think, is it for me. If I'll shoot it back over to you, Mike.
Okay, thanks, John. That was really good. So I think that really caught my attention a few years ago when I started using Planner was what you showed with the charts. I mean, you can do the simple task entry and things like that really easily, but you know, then you actually have that visualization that just shows up as well. So that's really cool. Good stuff. So so that's Planner. I'm assuming my screen is showing okay. And anybody tell me if it's not, please. So Planner does, like we said, and Josh was showing, the simple task and actually into some good team dynamics and some good reporting. But what happens if you actually need to do things like you need to create dependencies between items? So something has to start after another item finishes, or you want to actually get a little more detailed around the resource hours assignments and things like that. So for that, you actually, that's exactly where Project for the Web comes in. This is a new product introduced by Microsoft last October, and it kind of sits in between the Planner piece and the project online piece. And for that, we're going to ask Brian Quick to go in and give us a quick, Quick's going to do a quick demo. So take it away, Brian. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. That was a great demo, Josh. As Mike said, what happens when you need something more than just moving tasks and assigning them to folks? What happens if you need a scheduling engine? And that's what Microsoft Project for the Web is designed to accomplish. It came out this past October, and it is available right now, but not yet in the government community cloud. And I see a lot of government folks on the call today. Just wanted to call that out. It's coming soon to your tenant. But how to get to Project for the Web is actually quite easy. Just as Josh illustrated with Planner, it's part of your Office 365 environment. And you can just go to it by hitting Project in the Chooser menu, anywhere in Office 365 that you are. And now I get into Project. What happens is I get a page loaded called Project Home. This is going to show me all my favorite projects, all my roadmaps that I've created, and the ability to go ahead and create a new one called the New Blank Project. So I'm going to click on that, and instantaneously I get taken to a new project without a title that I can get started with working. And from there, I can give it a title, and we're going to call it the Home Classroom, because a lot of us parents are faced with having to create a home classroom for our kids that are home from school during this period of time. And I'm going to give that a start date of 4/6. So my home classroom project is underway. And what I can do now is basically start adding tasks to my home classroom project. So in order to set up a home classroom, we need to clean out the dining room, for example. We might need to set up the computers. We might need to hang the whiteboard.
This sounds like somebody who's been through this recently.
Speaking from experience, Mike, we might need to get the headphones. This is very key for the parents. We might need to get a power cord or get extension cord, and you know that's going to be it. And then we have our technology set up. And that involves logging into certain tools online like Schoology, which all of us are becoming very familiar with, iReady, and maybe Edmodo. Now, in order to make sure we represent a hierarchy here, what we can do is we can indent tasks, can make things a subtask of another. So we have a task list here that shows hierarchy. We can go as many as 10 levels deep on this. If I wanted to add a task in, I could do that easily as well by inserting a task above and saying, this is called room setup. And then if I wanted to, I could indent all of these over and make them subtasks of room setup. Now, as you can see, I'm creating a mini project plan here. It kind of looks and feels like Microsoft Project, but it may be a little bit easier for some of you to use, especially those of you that are occasional or part-time project managers and really don't need the full power of Microsoft Project at your disposal. So also in Project for the Web and with Planner, it's all tied to Microsoft Modern Office 365 groups. So if I already have a group, I could add this project to that group. If I want to create a new group on the fly, I could do that too, called Home Classroom. But I already have a group, and we don't want to duplicate or create more groups than we need. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit Innovative E Project Demo and include this project in that group. When I do that, I'm going to get all my team members, all 8 of them, on my project team, and they'll have access to this project plan. And I also can assign them work to do. So if I wanted to go ahead and assign Josh a task and maybe assign Mike something, I can do that as part of my existing Office 365 group. I might want to even assign durations to these particular things, like 1 day, one day, just for an example. But I might want to actually view more data and see something more. So I'm going to include effort. I can also include % complete, a start date, and a finish date for my tasks. And then I can also include dependency, like depends on or dependence after. So I'm getting predecessor, successor relationships there. And I have something called bucket, which is a categorization. Right now I only have one kind of category, but I can add more if I want. I even have something called outline number. Now, what I can do with these things is I can move them around. So I can make the project into something really usable and workable for me the way I want to see it. I like to have % complete over here on the left. And then I also like to get my start date over there. And that looks pretty good. So now I'm my project plan the way I like it. And I can start working my project plan. I can start making things % complete. I can just type it in there for halfway done. I can type any amount in there. And now I'm starting to work on these things. I can also go ahead and assign tasks to additional people if I want and really flesh out my project plan. But the power of Project for the Web is also the board view. Kind of looks and feels a lot like Planner, but I have a scheduling engine now behind the scenes. I can bucketize things. I can say, these are my facilities activities. These might be technology. I can bucketize things however I want. It's a custom field. And then if I want to switch this to progress, I have a Kanban board. So again, similar to Planner, I'm able to move cards around the screen. So if I wanted to move get headphones to in progress, I can do that. It's going to mark that as 50% by default. And then I can go into it and I can change that to 75%. I also have a simple effort calculation here. Completed work plus remaining work equals total work. I can add a dependency and it gives me some suggestions. So I'm going to pick set up the computers. And then I can even assign it to someone right from here. So that's pretty cool because now I have my grid view and I don't need to switch tools to get a board view. Also, and probably perhaps most impressive, is the timeline view. This is a Gantt chart, but it's a more interactive Gantt chart than you've ever seen in Project before. So I can create tasks, I can move them around, I can extend them, I can make them start on different dates if I wanted to, move them out. I can even go, and once I assign a few more resources here, I'm going to actually put a couple of hours associated with this one, maybe this one, just add a few more pieces of data here, flip back over to my timeline. I might want to create some predecessor successor relationships right here from the timeline, so I can click and drag and do that. And now that just pushed that out because of that relationship. I can create what the meaningful relationship between these tasks are with just a drag and a drop of the mouse. If there's any completion on the tasks, it's not going to push them out. So you'd have to zero that out to have that move. I can zoom in and zoom out of my Gantt chart as well, so I can really work with the data, identify my relationships and my constraints. So with one tool, I have a grid, I have the ability to have a Kanban board, and I have a timeline. So Project for the Web really empowers the occasional project manager to have something more than Planner. It's like a step up. But what if I wanted to use Project for the Web with Teams? Well, no problem. You can use Project for the Web right here within a Teams channel by surfacing a Schedule tab and referencing Project for the Web, a specific schedule within it. So here I have this example of contract management. This is the channel in Teams, and I've got my contract management project right here. I can flip between board view, timeline view, just like I was doing in Project for the Web natively, but now I'm just doing it contextually inside Teams. And that means that I can chat about this particular project with my teammates. We can collaborate on the project in real time. What's more, I have a complete reporting solution available with Project for the Web in Power BI. All of the data that's going into Project for the Web is coming out in these great interactive dashboards. So all my projects are here, my progress against those projects, how many do I have, what's the total effort, the amount completed and remaining, and there's pie charts and graphs that show me what's going on across my portfolio. I didn't really do anything to create these reports except for load this dashboard from GitHub into Power BI and surface it in a tab in Teams. The only thing I'm really doing to create these reports is working on my project schedules and creating data. I also have a really portfolio timeline, which shows me all of my projects that are going on, their progress against the plan, some different metadata associated with them. And I have the ability to narrow down the view by just using this really fun interactive slider. I have portfolio milestones, resource board. So now that I'm assigning people tasks in my project plan, I know how much effort those things take, and I know how much progress they've made toward them. So I can see who's assigned to what they've completed, and what's remaining. If I click on an area of Power BI chart, it'll actually filter that report for the data that I clicked on. Those of you that have used Power BI before are familiar with this concept, but it's always impressive to people that haven't seen it before. And then I have resource assignments. I can see what people are working on across the board, regardless of what project it is or who's managing the project. I have a task overview where I can see what tasks are happening, their start finish dates, any progress against those tasks. And it's just really easy to create this because you're just populating your project schedules with data, and you just loaded it as part of your team's channel. We can help you get started with this. If you're interested, just contact us after the webinar. One other innovative way I thought you could use Project for the Web and Planner together would be to create two different tabs in Teams. One for the project plan and one for an issues list. So we can use Planner as an issues list and just have our issues here in a simple Kanban board. So combining the two concepts together into one thing and using the tools strategically and collaboratively together in Teams alongside contextually to other conversations that are going on. I wanted to show you something else that's really actually a huge development in the space, and it's the ability to co-author a project plan with another. So in traditional Microsoft project circles, we didn't have the ability to both come into a project schedule at the same time and make changes. So I'm going to go into the contract management project, which is here on my team, and I'm going to show you how Josh is also in the same project, and he's going to move something from not started to in progress, and we're going to see him do it without moving my mouse. So go ahead and do that, Josh, if you would, please.
Sure, I think I can start the contract review.
How about that? So now Josh and I are working on the same project at the same time, and we're making changes to these tasks, and we can see each other's changes happen right before our eyes. So I'm going to switch back to grid view, and even if Josh wanted to go in and complete a few tasks and check them off, I'd be able to see that he's doing that by seeing him get crossed out and the boxes get checked. We don't have to go through any workflow to do this. We don't have to basically do anything but just be in the same project schedule at the same time and make changes. And some of you might be thinking, whoa, hang on a minute. There's pros and cons to that. And you're right. There's different tools you would use for different reasons. This is a collaborative project management tool, really for simple project plans and schedules and the occasional use of a project manager that's not really a PMP, and it's not a very complex project. If you want that ability to lock things down, create your own project schedule, and have it take effect when you want without anybody going in there and changing stuff, don't use this. Use Microsoft Project. Use Microsoft Project Professional in collaboration with Project Online in an enterprise portfolio management scenario. This is not for you. But Microsoft has different tools for different needs and different opportunities to get work done. It all creates one work management story on the Office 365 platform. And so one other thing I wanted to mention is what's coming soon is the ability to actually take a template of this project and save it as a clone to create another one. So Microsoft's working on that right now. It's supposed to come out this quarter, any day now, as a matter of fact. So you'd be able to basically create a schedule and templatize it for another project at a later date. So that's all I had there, Mike. If you want to take it back over, that's Project for the Web.
That's really good stuff, Brian. Thank you very much. Thanks, Josh, for doing the co-authoring. I love the co-authoring piece, being able to actually go in and make changes at the same time. With that, what we're going to do, you guys should be seeing my screen again, and we're going to get close to wrapping up. I want to do another poll, so everybody wake up if you haven't been paying attention. Look like most folks were, but I'm going to ask you to participate in this poll and see how helpful was the webinar, and then we're actually going to have a Q&A, and we'll talk a little bit about the assets that we'll be distributing afterwards. So how helpful was it? Was it really great? Definitely helpful? Yeah, but you still have some questions? If so, we'll be happy to follow up. It was okay, or maybe you were expecting something else. And if that's the case, then by all means, let us know, and we will be happy to follow up on that as well. So I'm going to start the poll and see if you guys will participate. Should be seeing the poll. Looks like it's distributing and getting some answers in. We'll give you guys about, I don't know, 30 seconds or so to do this. It's only one button, so jump in. Looks like we're getting over half the people have voted. So feel free to click one of the buttons there. Yeah, the co-authoring piece was really cool. The ability to, that new feature you were talking about, Brian, I look forward to seeing that. So you can actually take a project, if you've got a particular type of project and you want to say, hey, I would need to make a copy of that and start with that copy. That's pretty powerful stuff as well. All right, so I'm going to close the poll now. And it looks like, let's see. Looks like we have, wow, that's great. 80, oh, put my pen on here. 80, nope, wrong, did it again. Let's go back here. We'll talk about some resources here for you guys in a second. So 89%, so that's awesome. Looks like we pretty much either hit it or there's still some questions. So now we actually have a few minutes. If you guys have some additional questions, we're going to go to Q&A. First, I wanted to tell you we are going to have some resources. I did see some questions in the tab earlier. We're going to distribute the deck. We are going to distribute the deck. There's also a recording of this that will be distributed. We also have several other resources we're going to make available too. There was a planner blog that came out just yesterday, so it's hot off the press from the worldwide product team. Angela Byers runs that team. We have a great relationship with that team, and they did great work. And so there'll be a URL to their blog on that. It was really around planner. We have some other resources we produced, some Project for the Web videos and Project Online assets that we'll be putting out. We also, as this is actually part of a series that we kind of started up. We do webinars all the time, but we decided to start this up partially because we're getting a lot of additional questions, and that's actually what Angela talks about in her blog as well, with a lot more people working at home. How do you take advantage of these tools? So we started this series with a work from home webinar, and so that recording will be made available. That was I don't know, a week and a half ago. We also made a quick reference guide for some great ideas for not just technology wise, but just how you organize your day, some best practices that we found doing work from home and virtualization, virtual working over the many years we've been doing it and delivering for our customers as well in that nature. And then the other piece that we're excited about is we are really at this point we're putting a beta out, and this is the first public announcement of this, but we created a knowledge and enablement center for folks, and it's called Connect. So we're excited about that, and we'll be sending a URL to that as well. So with that, we'll go to seeing if there are any questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them into the board there. Looks like Brian's already in. Some other folks, I answered one earlier. Brian's answered one. Do you guys have any additional questions? Feel free to post them in there. I see there was a question about the GCC, Government Community Cloud. Well, Brian or Josh, do you guys have any additional thoughts?
Well, really just thanks for joining us today. You do have a lot of options in the Office 365 platform. It's really about what's the best fit for what you're trying to get done and the project you're currently working on. So here at Innovative E, we can help you with that. So let us know if we can help you in any way. After the webinar, if you're trying to figure out which tool you should be using, if you're not sure what area of Office 365 is going to be most helpful to you, then let us know and we'll work with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we will wrap it up, but all that contact information is on this, and you'll be getting an email from Pamela with all that additional information as well. So you guys feel free to contact us and stay in touch. Thank you very much for attending. Have a great day.